Bang, we're live. Fucking g'day, Dusty Bogan here. Here with fucking Aaron Taylor from Canada. Proud boy. How you going, Aaron?
I'm going good, Dusty. Nice to be here.
Fuck yeah, mate. Good on ya. So how long you been a Proud Boy for?
Just under a year. Last summer I joined, and I've been a proud boy ever since.
Fuck yeah. So how many chapters you guys got in Canada?
Canada, the west side. I'm in British Columbia on the west coast. There's two in British Columbia, two in Alberta, and then about one in a couple of the other prairie provinces. I would say probably about 9 or 10 chapters total, roughly.
Fuck yeah. All right, sweet. So it's like the same size as Australian Proud Boys. That's awesome. And it's
Cool.
just once a month beers with the boys, pretty much, or you hit up the rallies.
Yeah, as far as the chapters go in Canada, we try to abide by the once a month beer for sure. I'm part of the Nomads chapter because I'm a truck driver, so we don't necessarily get to meet up because Nomads are comprised of guys that travel for a living. So unfortunately, I don't get to interact with Proud Boys one on one as much as I would love to. But yeah, the other chapters abide by the once a month beer.
Fuck yeah. Do you do this sneaky and like if you're around, if you're driving your truck and you're like, fuck, there's a Proud Boy chapter here in this town, and just be like, boys, I want to have a beer.
Yeah, I see a lot of the other guys in the Nomads. Primarily, most of them are based out of America, and they do have their rests. Have to take a break once a week, and they do tend to meet up together and stuff. I drive locally. I drive a logging truck for logging companies up here in northern Canada. So unfortunately, I don't get to do it. But yeah, I see the other guys doing that.
Fuck yeah, that's sweet. We had one dude in Australia, he was in the army, and I think he's been to fucking six different chapters just because he gets posted to different cities. And then it's like, we're like, oh, where the fuck I see him on Telegram, and I'm like, what fucking chapter you're in now? Do you know what I mean? Because he's been everywhere and seen all the chapters.
That's awesome. What a great privilege that is to be able to interact with all the boys.
Fuck yeah! I had my mate Shane. I don't know. We did an interview the other day, but I fucked it up and deleted it accidentally. Still working this shit out, eh? And
Hey man, yeah, it takes time.
I'm fucking like Forrest Gump, mate. Nah, only joking. The Yeah, yeah. So my mate Shane, he moved from fucking Brisbane, where I'm at, down to Tasmania, which that would be like from fucking, moving from the west coast to east coast of Canada, like fucking other
Yeah,
side of the planet.
yeah.
And bam, he just transferred his life from fucking Brisbane Ipswich chapters down to Tassie. He's already in a Proud Boys chapter. So
Oh,
it
very
makes
cool.
it makes life easy. You know what I mean? You can just fucking wherever you're at, there's a chapter you can go for beers with your mates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love the brotherhood that the Proud Boys gives everybody. That it doesn't really matter whether you know them or not. If they're a Proud Boy, they're your brother. And it's a real family. It really is a beautiful fraternity. I love it.
Fucking oath. You get that. It's just like these are the values. You know where they stand. These are the tenets.
Yeah,
This dude's done his first degree, his second degree. You're like, fuck yeah, it gives you a bit of a bond. Have the
yeah.
beers. You can kind of trust them. It's like, look, we've got a set of values we agree with. And, that's the cool thing. We discriminate because of the tenets, the degrees, and like you have to be a man and that's it.
Yeah, it's awesome. The core values unite people, even though people may have different philosophies on life and different approaches to topics. We all maintain that core value, and I find that it's a really healthy way of conducting society. Is that if you're rooted in morality and you're rooted in values, it doesn't matter what your philosophy is. You can agree with this and disagree with that, but if your values are aligned, you can always have civility and have love for your neighbor and your brother. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I reckon like the cool thing is like I'm a Christian. I'm fairly conservative. Like Maybe not the way I talk, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm quite a conservative Christian. I kind of like to keep the Bible. Like, oh, that's what the Bible says. All right, I can't change the words of it. But anyway, like the good thing is like heaps of Proud Boys aren't Christian, but because there's like the value of freedom of speech, like I can talk to the boys, or they fucking ask me questions, or we have a conversation. If the conversation goes that way, no one's fucking offended or crying like a bitch. Like, the boys will defend my right to be a Christian. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate. I'm a Christian as well. I'm a firm believer in God and Jesus, and I got the way tattooed on my hands for that. So I got a lot of tattoos. People ask me about my tattoos, and having that on my hands really gives me the opportunity to talk to people about it. I certainly I find that there's people of different faith or even atheism and stuff within the Proud Boys, but because we share the same values, there's no need to try to take anyone down a notch for whatever their belief is. If you're our brother, you're our brother regardless. And it's pretty cool.
There's like a healthy environment of brotherhood and freedom of speech where you can have a fucking chat and even like disagree inside the group, I reckon. But like respectfully, but also like you can banter, joke around without the fucking next level offense. You know what I mean? If someone's like, fuck off, you're an idiot, Dusty, I'd be like, who gives a fuck? We're all brothers. Like, we have a laugh it off. It's probably the way it should be. We've created like a positive fucking environment, I reckon.
Yeah, well, you saying that kind of reminds me of the old Gandhi quote of "Be the change you want to see in the world," and I find that the way that Proud Boys are is very healthy, and I think it's a great example for all people to follow in. If we can, as a society, learn to get along with each other regardless of our differences, and we can agree on a common set of values, we're in really good shape. Unfortunately, what we're seeing nowadays in Europe and North America, I'm sure down in Australia, is there's such division between people where the value system has been eroded for so long that people have gone off into their separate groups, and we're not able to communicate it anymore. So I find that the Proud Boys is a very healthy environment for men, and I would like to see society emulate what the Proud Boys do in as far as supporting freedom of speech, supporting the rights of people, and just learning how to accept people that you may disagree with.
Fucking oath. That's exactly right. And it's the identity politics from the left wing. The left side of politics, the mainstream media, they carving everyone up into the identity groups. It's like, I'm gay. You don't have men and women. You got fucking normal. They try to carve us up into toxic masculinity and fucking radical feminists. And it's like everyone's carved up into that little identity group. And it's not healthy because they're creating like a fucking, as soon as that little identity group, they have the kind of very strict interpretation of reality. And as soon as one person steps outside of that realm of fucking truth, it's like the world comes crashing down and you're a fucking racist bigot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The left's identity politics is specifically designed and engineered to put people in little boxes, and they teach people that you go into your little box, you identify as this little segment, and anybody that doesn't understand you is now against you. And I think that's is so dangerous, and it's unfortunate that the Western world, which I'm a firm believer the West is the best. It's unfortunate that we're seeing the erosion of what makes it so awesome. So I really I try to talk to people in a respectful way. Although sometimes when you get on social media, it's easy to just kind of go and shit post and try to rip people apart. Like, I'm so guilty of that. Like, I love getting I love getting a rise out of people. I really enjoy it. So sometimes I kind of regress into the social media sort of trap of opposing people, and I put myself in a little box. But when I'm in person, I really try to conduct myself in a way that shows the best of who I am. And I'm one of the guys that likes to wear my Proud Boys stuff often, and I like to wear it out publicly. Thankfully, I'm not in a big city, so I don't really have to worry about people threatening my physical safety. Some people kind of shake their head at me, but I try to be the example. And so when I come out and I wear this, I'll smile at women in burqas and just give them a genuine sort of humanity. I try to do that, but
Fuck yeah, the old
we all
burqa, mate.
Digress.
The dusty burqa. There you go, mate. When Sharia law comes in, I'll be all good, mate.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that Sharia law stuff is crazy, crazy stuff.
How the fuck do the feminists and all this, even the environmentalists, the environmentalists are like, we need to fucking save the planet, we need to cut fucking pollution down. And then it's like, well, hang on a minute. You want to mass migrate these Muslims that are having fucking, what is it, like 6 children per woman? It's like, it just fucking seems to be like a giant fucking, they saying one thing, doing another thing. Like, people create fucking pollution. Now, I'm not saying, I reckon a healthy amount of fucking population growth is good, but maybe that the Muslims have definitely, it's like the Catholics back in the day, like they love to fucking breed. But if you want to live in if you live in the third world, you're probably not fucking driving a car and using all this fucking energy and power. But that's fucking double standard, these people, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there's certainly a heavy level of brainwash when it comes to environmental thinking. There are people that are like, oh, the world's heating up. Oh, it's cooling off. Well, now it's just changing, and it's kind of funny. I grew up as a teenager through the 90s, and the big thing was global warming, and then in the 2000s it became global cooling, and then in the teen years now of the 2000s, it's climate change. And it's funny because nothing ever actually changes. And so I like to sort of tongue-in-cheek tell people, well, I firmly believe in climate change. It happens 4 times a year. So
that's right.
Seasons change.
But every conservative, right, a whole pushback against climate change, it has to be, we don't believe a fucking tax is the way to solve climate change, because that's all it is. Like, we're paying fucking, in Australia, it's like 55 cents in every dollar you earn ends up back in the government pocket. And then they're like, if our Bill Shorten, if he won the election, he just lost, but he wanted to fucking introduce so many new taxes, and you think like, well, what's it going to be, Bill? We're pushing up to 65 cents in every dollar you earn is going to be, ends up back in the government fucking redistribution, and we're going to solve fucking climate change that way. Like, I don't fucking believe it. If 55 cents in the dollar, you can't fix fucking anything. They suck.
Yeah, it's really when people really look at it with a critical thinking type of mindset, you realize, oh, well, they've come up with a tax, and then they have an idea of what they want to do with the money, but there is no system in any country that I've seen when it comes to a carbon tax type of system. There's no real set plan of where they're going to put the money to and any tangible result that they expect to have. They just figure, well, we'll just collect all this money, put it into government coffers, and what do we do? Well, not much, because the biggest polluters, the ones that are getting taxed, they're willing to pay that money because they make so much. You think about the carbon tax in Canada. Well, the biggest people contributing are the oil companies. Well, the oil companies make trillions of dollars a year. The oil companies don't even mind paying the penalties to not even clean up sometimes. And in Canada, they're actually very responsible. But the fact is that the people paying into this carbon tax don't really give a shit about the carbon issue. One statistic I've recently been looking into, and I've really kind of seen the truth of it. Canada has so many trees. I'm in the logging industry, so I'm up in the hills and the mountains and logging. Canada has enough trees to scrub the amount of carbon that's put out in greenhouse gases for the whole world. So if people try to say, well, we got all this pollution that's going into the air, well, trees pull out carbon dioxide and give off oxygen. Canada has enough. Essentially, Canada alone is the lungs of the world. It can purify that air. And then you think about all the rainforests all around the world that also contribute to it. So the idea that, oh, we got carbon in the air, it's bullshit.
Yeah,
it's just bullshit.
There's definitely other solutions to this problem than fucking a giant big fucking global tax. Like,
yes,
I mean, don't they genetically modify fucking food and like wheat and shit? Like, go genetically modify some fucking tree. You know, I would go genetically modify like a desert tree that needs fuck all water, that can survive anywhere, and produces a heap of fucking oxygen, and then just go with a helicopter and just fucking drop billions of seeds across the desert and be like, there's the fucking problem solved. Like,
yeah.
But, you know, and then this is the conspiracy. I think Christians, we read the book of Revelations and we go like, it seems like there'll be kind of like a one world government situation there. And I mean, how do you roll out a one world government? Maybe with a fucking global tax. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and I think Christians are like, Christians are very, you know, I know the book of Revelations, it's like fucking metaphorical hyperbole. It's like reading Narnia or fucking Lord of the Rings. Like, it's quite like hard to be like, right, how do we grasp hold of this book full of metaphors and stuff? But the thing is, we know when we read it, we're like, obviously a few things aren't a fucking good sign, like a global government or a global government essentially would start with a global tax.
Yeah, and it starts with a globalized policy. So what we have now in all of the Western world is this globalized policy, this thinking of, we have a climate issue, how do we solve it? So we have to get together as a globe to solve the problem. And so it starts with that type of philosophy, that way of thinking, and you convince the people of all nations to unify on this process of, oh, we got to save the earth. Well, they're not really doing anything about saving it, but they are certainly trying to tax, and the money's not going anywhere. So, you know, if you want to save the world, don't get more plastic bags to the grocery store. Bring your own bags. You know, there's one step. Don't, you know, throw stuff in the ocean. Don't leave your beaches in a mess. Those are great ways to contribute. So I'm a firm believer in taking care of the environment, but not for the asinine sort of concern of, well, we're all going to die soon if we don't take care of the environment. I just think let's just respect what God gave us. God gave us a beautiful earth.
Mm-hmm.
God
That's
gave
right.
us, you know, yeah.
And
so
I think
let's respect it.
I think that, you know, globally it seems like we have a heap of fucking nationalistic, awesome as fucking, you know, all the democracies are voting in pretty awesome leaders. Like the Philippines has got that sweet dude. India's got his dar guy. Fucking Brazil, you know, I reckon Putin's a legend. You got fucking Trump. Yeah. We've got ScoMo. So we've got like a heap of right-wing kind of more nationalistic, more patriotic leaders in the world. I reckon they should be like, right, let's try and fucking solve this, you know, the concerns of pollution or whatever, but in a responsible way. Like we need to start being like, we're in power. We need to start addressing these nutty feminists and these gays and these Muslims and these fucking climate thing people, you know, the climate change fucking extremists, and be like, right, we need to talk to yous and deal with this and make them understand like how the fuck are they going to outwork their desire, but in a kind of positive way we could all agree on, in a healthy way, instead of an extreme fucking way. Because eventually the oppositions are going to win the elections, and I just hope that they don't go full fucking retard on us, which is likely.
It's very likely. In America, when the Democrats do end up getting back in, it's that to me is almost a biblical sign that what they're trying to do as Democrats in America right now, they're trying to push abortion. They want to kill babies. That's crazy. They want to abolish the border so that America just becomes a sponge for everything out there, and that's irresponsible. And what we're seeing with Donald Trump is that he's following through with his promises, and he's being a true nationalist, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And the unfortunate thing is that everything in life has a balance. So when the pendulum swings to the right, eventually it will swing back to the left. It's inevitable. We can't really avoid that. We can delay it, but we can't avoid it. So what people need to be doing now, as conservatives, as nationalists, patriots, and responsible citizens, is to recognize where the pendulum is being pushed back and where that's going. So if you're living in a country that has a conservative mindset of leaderships, and I'm very happy to hear that conservatives are in power with ScoMo in Australia. I'm really happy to hear that for you.
Fucking ScoMo!
I think it's great, man. I think it's great. And I learned everything about the Australian politic over the last few months through your channel, and you have really spurred my awareness to it, and I think it's great. So it's awesome, your patriotism for your country, for what you've been putting in. I congratulate you for that. People like Vladimir Putin as well. He's a nationalist. He puts Russia first, and I really love that. Now, these leaders may not always have the best personal life kind of stories and stuff like that, but a politician isn't a person that you have to like. A politician is a person that has to serve the best interests of the people. Unfortunately, we are going to see a swing back to the left eventually, and we need to be prepared for that. So I encourage all conservatives in every country to be prepared for that pendulum swing when what I would say shit hits the fan.
Yeah, we do have a golden opportunity right now. Like, the way we play the game right now is very important. Like, it's important that you look at the left and the tactics they do. Like, they fucking go counter rally. We hold a rally, they come and counter protest it, and they carry on like dickheads. So like, we're not going to engage in their tactics and fucking drag our culture into the gutter of it's like escalation. You're either going to get upward positive momentum, or you're going to get downward negative momentum. Do you know what I mean? But we're in a good spot. We've kind of got ourselves, I think. Does it seem like Trudeau's going to get the fucking boot in Canada, and then Trump might win, and looks like this European election might, we might see a few more nationalists get in. So it's like, right, we're here, we're in a good fucking spot. What are we going to do?
Yeah, it's as far as Trudeau in Canada, I hope for the best and I plan for the worst. I try to use that philosophy in my life. I think that, and I've talked with quite a few people that tend to lean on the federal Liberals, which is the Trudeau's party, and they recognize that Trudeau is not serving Canada very well. So I like to see that. The concern for conservatives in Canada is that we have the long-standing Conservative Party. It's called the Conservative Party of Canada. They had a leadership battle, and the guy who tried to take over the party, his name is Maxime Bernier. He's from Quebec. He's a strong nationalist. He follows a lot of what Trump's policies are. I love the guy. I've met with the guy. I spoke with him. And I would love to see him lead Canada, but the Conservative Party of Canada is the one that's going to get most of the votes. I'm concerned about a vote split, and I think a lot of conservatives in Canada are concerned about this vote split because Maxime Bernier holds maybe 3% of the conservative, or sorry, 3% of the projected outcome of the vote that happens in October in Canada. And if the conservative votes are split, it dilutes their ability to possibly have a majority government. So what I think will happen is that it will be called a minority government where the Conservatives, I would hope, hold the most seats, but the federal Liberals will end up becoming the official opposition, and the Conservatives won't really have the strength to get a lot done. I would hope for a landslide for Conservatives to win. I would hope for that. It would be great because what Justin Trudeau is trying to do right now is he's got these backdoor sort of things going on where he wants to try to ban guns. And that's a big issue for me. I'm a gun owner. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I enjoy them for hunting, and I enjoy them just for going to the gun range and shooting. But Trudeau wants to ban guns. We don't know what guns he wants to ban. We don't know the extent of what he wants to do, whether he wants to just send the police to the houses and take the guns, or whether it gets grandfathered and you get to keep them if you already have them. I don't know.
Well, what about the buyback laws in New Zealand? Like after the fucking nutcase shot up the mosque, and then it's like they've done like this, we're going to buy back all the semi-automatics. And it's something like 200 people have handed their guns back in out of 140,000 rifles. Like, so that didn't work. Like none of them rifles were registered. They don't know. They know, oh, there's roughly 135,000 fucking semi-automatics getting around New Zealand. And then they don't know who owns it. They're not registered. They just have a rough idea. And then it's like fucking, I read it was like 50 people handed in their guns. Well, let's say 1,000. Let's say 10,000 people handed in their guns. There's still fucking 90% of the semi-automatic rifles. People are fucking buried in the field somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's if someone just takes an objective look at that, they realize, okay, well, if there's that many guns, and New Zealand had this one incident where a guy who wasn't a New Zealander, he was an Australian, but happened to have access to semi-automatic guns, and he went in and shot it up. Okay, so out of all the gun owners and all the semi-automatic guns, one man went out and did a heinous act. So does that mean we should just get rid of all of those guns? Not really, because all of those people that have them are obviously not lunatics. They're obviously stable people who respect the firearms for what they are, and they're not out there doing crazy stuff. So should we change the policy of a nation based on the most minuscule fraction of the actions of one person? I just think that that's silly that people do that. Well, they get emotionally involved in this. They're like, wow, this is heinous, and what happened in New Zealand was terrible. I believe that killing people is never justified. I'm a believer in God. We need to value life. Now, should we change laws based on the actions of one person in a nation that has, I don't know how many people in New Zealand? I would guess a few
4 million. Be lucky if there's 5 million New Zealanders.
Yeah, so to me, that's the way I look at things. It's like, okay, well, if you saw in New Zealand that even 1% of semi-automatic gun owners are going crazy and shooting people, okay, maybe there's some real issues here. But when you're talking about one guy in a population of 4 million, well, I don't know the math on that, but you're talking about 1 in 4 million.
It's like it didn't happen.
Crazy.
This is the way the left is running politics at the moment. It's like the trannies. It's like, well, the gays are 1% of the population. Might be 2% of 1% of men, 1% of women, whatever. It's 1% of the overall population, I believe, are gay. And it's like, we've had to fucking change the definition of marriage for them. And that was just the thin end of the wedge. And now they're fucking going and removing gender off birth certificates and driver's license and all government documentation. Like when we had the Commonwealth Games, the government issued like a fucking pamphlet to the employees saying like, you know, this is the way to it's gender neutral language. They wanted all the staff to use gender neutral language. So we're fucking changing our society. And they're trying to now go around Christian schools in South Australia. They're saying like, you know, you can't hire and fire staff. They want to introduce, at the moment, Christian schools can hire according to people's belief system. So you have to be a practicing Christian to get the job in a Christian school. Now the government's like, that's a bit unfair. And this is all because of the fucking gay vote. So that was all the thin end of the wedge. So it's now like what I'm saying here is 1% of the population is fucking. We're all changing our whole lives because of the 1%.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's the same with this gun owner. The gun owners, one nutcase. It's like the trannies, even worse. Yeah. The trannies, you know, they're fucking 0.01%, and now we're fucking bending over backwards for the trannies.
Yeah. Well, democracy, the principle of democracy is that the majority gets to have their voice heard, and that a system based on pure democracy is that the majority is the ones that dictate what's going on. What we're seeing now is this bizarre world, clown world, where the ultra minority are the ones with the loudest voice. I think it's quite silly. So we really should not be allowing the ultra minority to be the ones that dictate what we as the majority can and cannot do. Should we listen to them? Sure. Should we change for them? Not necessarily. It's based on merit to me whether we should change, not just that they claim oppression. So
yeah, that's right. Like we should. It should
just
be
claim oppression.
Oh, it's stupid. We should be focusing on like a common law that glues us together. Meritocracy. Like you're getting judged because of the law or it's all about, it doesn't matter if you're a fucking tranny or a woman or a black dude or a fucking
totally
gay Muslim who's just got out of jail. Do you know, like whatever your demographic, whoever the fuck you are, whatever super minority you are, it's like, we don't give a fuck. It's the same rules for everyone, but don't like, we're not going to change the world for fucking every little bloody subgroup, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because what you end up with is this policy that the person who cries the loudest gets the most attention. You know, do we treat 4-year-olds like that? And so, well, if she cries louder, well, then we're just going to give her what she wants. What does that teach you? Well, it teaches the society to cry more. It doesn't teach them to solve their problems.
I heard a study, and it was something about like kids who, you know, kids are going to childcare from a real young age. They go into this environment where there's like fucking the ratio for the adult who's caring for these kids. It's like maybe there's 5 kids per fucking adult. And these little kids, they work out quickly that if they cry and carry on, they get attention and affection from the teacher. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that was this study I was reading was like, yeah, this is like having a flow-on effect to people's adulthood. They're growing this most important age of people's lives where they should be, I think the same study was saying that the first 3 years of a kid's life, they should be with one of the primary parents, because it builds like trust and that builds like, instead of where the opposite effect is sending them to a childcare center where the kid is literally crying out for attention, but they're getting that attention. They're being rewarded with bad behavior. And it has a flow-on effect to their life. So we've created this shitty world with we probably didn't know what we're doing. We're like, oh, fuck, both parents need to work. Holy fuck, all right, we have to send the kid to childcare. And then bang, we don't realize the flow-on effect. And I'm not saying that. It's probably just one piece of the puzzle of like how we get to this PC fucking environment we're in now.
I fully agree with what you're saying there. It comes down to leadership. A child, much like every other animal out there, needs a leader to show them how the world works. You know, a mother bear will lead its cubs into the life that they need to lead, and eventually the mother bear will kick them out and say, "Okay, you got to go do it yourself now. I showed you what to do." But if that cub never had a mother, would that bear grow up and be a successful bear? It would probably starve to death. And so that's what we're doing as people in society, where the idea of parenting has been diluted, and the value of not to sound anti, well, not, it's not even anti-woman, but the idea of the women want to get in the workforce, and so now the parents are both working. They're leaving their kids with other people who are not going to be the leader. There's a biological connection to your actual parent, and when you take your kid to childcare for 8 hours a day after their school and you're working and stuff like that, that kid is missing out. So absolutely, a child needs that leadership. It needs that role model. It needs the discipline. What we have in North America, and I'm sure Australia is very much the same, because we're just, we're brothers and sisters as nations. We have kids growing up that don't have the discipline, this coddling type of behavior of like, well, no, everything's okay. It's okay what they do, and don't punish them because we don't want them to feel sad. They end up being these liberal pussies that, go out and shoot people up and stuff like that. It's crazy how the world has adopted this idea that people can just be hands off with their children. And we need more discipline from parents to their children. Need better leadership from parents to children. The only way to do that is to be with your children.
Yeah, we've done some weird fucking things. I just think of like kids at school. The kid can't get a smack at school if he mucks up, but they can pump the kid with fucking Ritalin and all sorts of medication. So like,
yeah.
I think these areas, see, we could probably build some common ground with some left-wing people and be like, hang on, let's fucking talk about this shit. I swear to God, the militant, you think of the Antifa guys and they're like, fuck you, Nazi scum. And it's like, bro, calm down for 5 fucking minutes. Let's have a conversation. Because I genuinely think that there is a lot of shit we can all talk about, agree on, and make a better fucking society. But it's probably, I think it will come down to cultural transition. The answer is not always tax the fuck more out of everyone and roll out huge government programs. It is a thing like this. Have a fucking conversation, put out the information, what we need to do, where we need to change. Just, it's like slightly tweaking society. Like maybe we could fucking, I think it's like, instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses and being so materialistic, we need to be like, you know what? To the missus, it's like, we won't buy a new car or go on that holiday. How about you stay at home with the kids this year and just have that extra quality time? You're probably going to get better value for money having your missus stay at home with the kids, or the fucking husband, whatever works for you. I don't think it actually matters. I think it's a primary caregiver is what matters, like a parent. And then we could be like, instead of fucking trying to keep up with the Joneses and be so like, I need the new fucking pretty hat, to impress everyone, be like, no, the value structure has to readjust. We have to start valuing, get the fucking value system realigned up, get the fucking materialism down a few pegs, and get family and culture and community back up in the right,
Totally, man. I'm with you. I think you're bang on.
It's not all this. It's not all about the money. We've been so, but like, here's a good thing about when I grew up. My mum, single parent mother, she tried her best, but she just was like, yeah, do whatever you want. Pretty much. We just did whatever the fuck we wanted. But a good thing she did, she was like, if you want to go to school in high school, she's like, you need to pay for it yourself. And I'm like, all right then. So I got a fucking job. Ended up having 2 jobs in high school, and I was making like $250 a week, which back then was a fuckload of money. Like you could buy a carton of pre-mixed bourbon and Coke for $25. So, I mean, I could have been, by the time I was 14, I could have been I was literally, I'd have fucking a carton of piss and a pack of durries, and probably did have weed back then. That it kind of backfired on her. She's like, you have to pay for your own school. Next minute, I'm like, fucking pretty much had too much money for that a teenager should have had. Do you know what I mean? But
Sure.
I learned how to use money, and I learned how to fucking going in the workplace environment. You're like, I want the money. I do want the cash. So you just pull your head in. You rock up on time. You fucking you rock up to your shifts. You don't have time off or sick days. I'm sick. You fucking rock up sick. You wear your proper uniform and just do as you're fucking told, because you want the cash. I wanted the money. And I learned that young, and I'm like, thanks fucking heaps, mum. And I'm so glad. I'm kind of glad that I fucking partied and carried on like a stupid fucking idiot. By the time I was 22 or 21, I was like, I've already fucking I've had a good fucking crack at this. Do you know what I mean? Where most cunts might start at 18 and they're like 30 and then they're getting over it. I was like, I'm done at fucking 22. I'm like, I'm happy to just have fucking get smashed on the weekend. But anyway.
Yeah, I can relate to you on that. My mom was a single mother raising me all my life. I was very fortunate that she was a teacher, so we had the same hours. When I was at school, she was at work, and then when I was done school, she was at home. So it worked out really well. I give my mom so much credit for creating who I am. Now, I kind of started my sort of party years a little bit late. I kind of started in my 20s, so I didn't really do anything in my teen years other than, ride skateboards and go, frolic around in the forest and whatnot. But now I'm my mother's caregiver, so I've moved to where I'm at to actually look after my mom. She's 83 now, and to me, I cherish that. I cherish the time that I have with her, and I cherish the fact that I can put a smile on her face. But so like getting back to what we talked about, having at least one of the primary parents raising the kid, being around the kid. Well, I had that, and it sounds like we both kind of had a similar situation. My mom was very much trying to stress the value of work, the value of money. I didn't want to listen to that when I was young, but I learned it later. So I started to really grow up in my late 20s. Spent most of my 20s developing my career. I was a chef by trade, so I did my apprenticeship in my early 20s and stuff. But there was a lot of drinking and stuff going on there. But anyway, that aside, coming back to the idea of a parent looking after the kid, a parent being there to mentor to the kid and to provide lessons and discipline, it's so incredibly valuable. And in this busy world, we're seeing more and more where parents are hands off with their kids. I was a free range kid, much like it sounds like you were too. You kind of got to do what you wanted to do. That made me strong because I had to fall down and pick myself back up rather than someone else picking me up. So I can relate to you with that.
I've had dudes at my work, like some of the next young generation, they fucking come to work and it's like they're barely in their uniform, they're barely on time, they're having fucking every third day off work. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, man? These young dudes, they should be hooking in and fucking banking that cash. You know what I mean? Like, and what the fuck's wrong with them? They should be at least be like, I need all this fucking cash so I can go out and party and get chicks. Like, what happened to that? That was a good fucking motivation. That kind of can get the ball rolling, get the momentum going. And then you meet a chick and you're like, I'm fucking in love now. And then you really get your shit together. Like, the woman kind of domesticates the man for, and helps us get our shit together. It gives us it's a great incentive. Like,
it gives us purpose. Yeah, for sure.
What the fuck's wrong with these young people? It's probably like, another benefit of Proud Boys, like the no wanks thing. It's like, these young dudes are fucking, they need to get out, start fucking dating Sheilas again, start getting on the hunt. They should be like they should be like a fucking, picture it like they're a hunter. They need to survive. It's like, should
hunter,
be like
gatherer, pussy latherer.
Should be fucking like breathing,
Yeah.
I'm married, but like the goal was there. I'm like, I need to get that woman, and then once you got her, you should be stalking her in the hallways and like should be constant flirting and joking around. You know what I mean?
No doubt. And when you got high testosterone because you're working hard and you're eating well and you got a good looking woman that you're loyal to, well, it keeps that testosterone high, it keeps that healthy ego high, and yeah, absolutely, that's what it should be. You know, men should be loving their women and nurturing their women for sure, and they should be chasing them around, playing some grab ass if that's your woman.
Fucking oath. That's right. That's like that's the healthy world we should be living in. And I think the young people these days, they watch like fucking Netflix. I always bang on about this. You watch Netflix and it's like sex sells. So there's sex scenes everywhere, but they've traded in sex scenes for fucking adultery scenes. So our society's like, you know, you listen to the R&B music and shit. I listen to this R&B music and I'm thinking it's all pretty much like encouraging people to cheat on their misses and get out there and party, but it's not like in a positive way. I'm listening to it like, fuck, these teenagers are going to like, they're going to start like engaging in relationships, moving from one partner to the next. They're probably going to end up heartbroken fucking little alcoholics turning to the bottle with like, and then in result being fucking cat mums and dog dads. But they're being brainwashed by the music and the TV that's just pumping fucking adultery out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I primarily listen to R&B, rap, and hip hop myself, but I don't necessarily adopt the what's going on. But I'm a 40-year-old guy with a lot of life experience, so I'm not as malleable as young people for sure. I do see young people very malleable. Yeah.
Once you're aware of it, the power is taken away from it. It's like advertisement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you realize like, holy fuck, you know, they're trying to sell you the Big Macs and the fucking Burger King selling you milkshakes to throw at politicians. You know what I mean? You're like, you're like, I understand. Like, this is just a constant money making machine, and that's what it is. It's sex sells. They're pushing it on they push it in advertisement and everything. And I'm not saying like, look, let's just talk about that. Let's raise awareness of that because we want to rob it of its power. So then when you see it, we can be like, oh, fuck. Okay, I get it. Talk to your fucking kids and your kids and your nephews and stuff about this, because when you're watching Netflix and you're like, you know, they're not trying to normalize fucking same-sex relationships and trannies, I would be like, hang on a minute, they're pushing an agenda. I want to make sure you kids are aware of this. This is not normal. This is 0.01% of the population or 1% of the population. I want to raise that awareness to the fucking young generation. It's not normal. 99% of the population is normal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, normal is what most people are. That's by definition, normal is what you can observe and say, well, this is what it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
And not to like bag out on the gays too much there, because, you know, we got gay Proud Boys and they're fucking all good. Like, I got a heap of gay mates who are actually fucking quite conservative, and we share like a lot of the same values, but we got to be aware what the fuck is getting pushed through the mainstream media. What are these people saying? What's the mainstream media and political class saying? Because it's like now they're just fucking in bed with each other. You know, it's hard to distinguish one from the other. They're beating the same fucking drum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I sometimes get perceived as anti-gay, but I try to clarify to people, I don't have a problem with people being in homosexual relationships. That's cool. My problem is propaganda. Now, what we have in the world right now is so much propaganda that says gay is fabulous, gay is great, gay is amazing. You know what? If you're not gay, you should just try being gay. And that's the kind of stuff that I think is just absolutely disgusting. It's not that people want to be in a homosexual relationship. All the power to people to love who they want to love. I'm cool with that. But it's propaganda. So, you know, sometimes people misinterpret what I'm coming at them with when I say, oh man, like I don't dig all this gay shit. Well, I'm talking more about the propaganda than the actual people themselves. I being Christian,
people
you gotta
have
love
freedom
people.
of will. Like people,
Yeah.
you can put your dick into a fucking toaster if you want, man. Like some stupid idiot's probably fucking done it. Now, does that mean he's like, I'm a toaster lover? Just
Yeah,
fucking
now
walks
everyone.
around with a toaster. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
and
Like,
you should fuck
yeah,
toasters too.
yeah, like you don't have to be gay to put your cock in someone's asshole. Like you could just be a stupid fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like it probably fucking happens. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, they're normalizing something that's not normal, and that doesn't mean we're fucking saying to the genuine gays who are just like, oh, I think I'm born like this. It's like all good, man. Who gives a fuck? You're not hurting anyone, and most of the gays aren't telling me, that I can't fucking read certain scriptures from the Bible or telling me that fucking I'm upset because your church doesn't marry gays, you know what I mean, or want me to use fucking gender neutral language. Like most gays are like, who gives a fuck? Trannies used to be funny. Like trannies and gays, they used to be portrayed on TV as kind of funny, and they would take the piss out of themselves and have a laugh.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
remember the gay episode of The Simpsons where Homer's like, he's like, I like my fucking homosexuals flaming. I want to know that they're gay. And he's like hanging out with that dude, and he couldn't pick up his gaydar was off, and he didn't realize he's gay. And I think Marge is like, he's gay, Homer, and he's like, what the fuck? And he has a meltdown. But like that was funny. They used to take the piss out of this stuff, and we became like we were beyond the gay. We were post gay. We were post racism. We were post feminism. Our society had moved on. This is probably our generation growing up. It was like no one gave a fuck, and then for some reason, it's like cultural Marxism. They were like, the only way we're going to win these elections is by targeting identity groups. We need to like fucking fight for identity groups' rights. We need to push their agendas to secure the vote. Like, is that what happened? It seems like that's what's happened.
Yeah, it's I just call it clown world. Like when I was growing up, I remember I used to stay up late on Saturday nights with my brother and watch Saturday Night Live through, I guess that would be the late 80s era. There was Julia Sweeney played a character called It's Pat, and it was this androgynous sort of, you didn't know whether it was a man, didn't know whether it was a woman, but the whole skits were, and it was a reoccurring one. It happened all the time where the people were like, how do we figure out what it is? Well, let's bring her to a gym and see what bathroom she goes into so we can figure it out. And there was always this diversion of like, well, I don't need to change. I'll just wear what I'm wearing and stuff like that. So, and that was comedy. And nowadays, if people in their late teens or early 20s that subscribed to these liberal leftist types of ideas, if they saw that, they'd be freaked out. They're like, oh, this is hate speech. No, it's comedy.
It's fucking stupid. Do you remember, I remember growing up, it was like, you got South Park, you had fucking American Dad, Family Guy, Futurama, fucking Jackass, Dave Chappelle, like, all these comedians, it was fucking funny. They took the piss out of Christians. They took the piss out of black people and white people and gays. No one was fucking off the radar. We were all getting sledged. We all were forced to laugh at ourselves. It took the edge off. Like I remember Dave Chappelle with his fucking white hood, and he was like, white power, like a blind kid who was raised in a fucking... he raised in a blind school or something, blind orphanage, and that they must have been racist. So he grew up and he thought he was black. White.
Yeah, he didn't know he was black. Yeah.
And he ended up being the head of the KKK. I remember mates at school, like my mates at school who invited me to church, how I first became a Christian, most of them were fucking like blacks and Mexicans and stuff, right? Like full multicultural. As soon as we got in, we had like a young fucking people's kind of Bible study every Tuesday. We'd go driving around doing crazy shit, and it must have like most black kids with us, and they would all be like "White power," yelling it out the window. Even all the black kids would yell it out. They thought it was fucking hilarious, and they would yell it out to like other black people, and that the black people would like give us the finger, and the youth would rip up the handbrake, reverse back to the pedestrians, and freak them out, thinking we were going to have a fight. Like we'd do stupid shit. Like we were we got over it. We got over racism. It was done. The gay thing, it was done. The feminist thing was done. And now, and we were all like, it was Jackass. Everyone was happy. We were all fucking skateboarding, listening to fucking rock and metal, and remember like new metal, like Limp Bizkit. It was like rap and metal were merging together. Black and white people were merging together. Even our music genre was merging. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was all good. And what the fuck
good old
happened?
days.
It was the good old days. It was fucking normal. It used to be cool to be black. Like people would be like, yeah, the black dudes are fucking cool. It was all good.
Yeah.
And like now it's kind of like, what? There's like they're trying to make a tension between black and white people. And like I grew up, I was like, you know, these rappers are fucking cool. We emulated them. They were our role models. We thought they were cool. And now it's just like, what? There's some weird fucking I think they're trying to create a tension, but we're not buying into it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how when you were a teenager, you see the world through a certain lens, and then when you get older, you kind of get past like 30-ish or so, you start to like look back and you're like, whoa, man, that was kind of fucked up what we were doing and stuff like that. But like you're talking about how back in the day, like you're a bit younger than I am. I don't know how old you are. I'm 40. Yeah. You're 30. Okay, so I'm 10 years past you. Thanks, brother. I was low stress lifestyle, but you know, I remember those days where it was like you could make fun of anything, and you would usually have that one or two kind of prudish girls in school that were just like, oh, you guys, you're so bad at making fun of those people and stuff like that. You know, when I was in high school, I was the freak. I was the one with the mohawk. I was the one, I even wore dresses to school just to piss people off. And so I was the guy getting called the fag all the time. And so I was the brunt of everybody else's jokes. But I set myself up because it's like, if I go to school dressing with a mohawk and I wear combat boots and a dress that's way too tight on me, like this is going to be fucking funny. And so I enjoyed those days.
The original troll, mate. You were the original shit stirrer in reality.
Yes, sir. I've always been that way,
fucking these things, you know.
Yeah.
We used to do that. That's the thing. There was like I think there's like a generation where we got the smartphones and we were just taking the piss. It was like mini Jackass, the trolls, the shit posters, and they must be from that generation who we didn't give a fuck. There was nothing was sacred. Like the thing is, I think like, yes, I believe things are sacred, like people's religions and races and whatever and cultures. Yeah, it's sacred. But the thing is, in a sense, there's also a level where you joke with your friends, you rise above that sacredness, and you're joking, you're shit posting, you're stirring the pot, you're winding each other up for reactions, and you're taking the piss. It's just you only joke with your mates, and these PCs people are fucking, you're a Nazi because you posted a Peppy the fucking frog meme.
I get so much joy out of getting a reaction out of people. I always have, and I'm still that guy. I used to be really liberal when I was young. Now I'm a conservative, but I'm always me. I love to get a rise out of people. And it's funny. Yesterday I was on one of my Proud Boys Facebooks, and we had a little interaction. Talking about how the Proud Boys fought in Venezuela for a little while, and then we decided that, we're going to go over to Iran and overthrow the government in Iran. And this one conservative guy, he came across as really liberal, but turns out he's conservative. And he's like, oh, it's disgusting that the Proud Boys are in Iran. And I was like, well, we got to overthrow the government. If nobody else is, we are. And it's all just a joke. But we had this guy just going off about how awful we were, that we were going and killing Iranian people and stuff. He's like, you don't realize, like, we're joking. Proud Boys are not in Iran. killing people. Like,
Mm.
but we know we can get a rise out of these people if we just say we are. And the Venezuela campaign was very successful as far as propaganda goes. It was hilarious.
Fuck yeah.
I loved it. I had so much fun.
So how have the Proud Boys in Canada? I seen there was like probably years ago there was the Canadian Proud Boys who rocked up to the Indian. I don't know what you guys call your Indigenous people. They went to that little rally and rocked up and listened.
Yeah.
They pretty much listened, had a chat with them, and then they left and went and had beers. No drama.
That's
but
right.
I'm sure the mainstream media fucking roasted yous and cried.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, it was a non-story, really. It was it was a veterans holiday, and these men who were in the Navy happened to have some time off. They went to a veterans square where there's a veterans memorial. There were some natives. Sometimes call them Indians, sometimes call them natives. I don't really like to go by the PC words. I just call them that.
What's the PC word? Native or
they would call them Aboriginal Canadians, or I don't know. I don't even get into
fucking
PC.
knows.
I just call them natives or Indians. That's whatever. I don't care. Indians is actually not PC because Indian is from India. So yeah, but whatever. I don't care. But
we'll never win that game. We're never going to win the PC game. No one can play it. No one will win it. They can't even win it. They're creating a false reality where they're like, it's PC world, and they themselves will never be able to fucking win that game. It crashes down around them.
I try to lose the PC game as much as possible. I want people to say, you're not PC. And I'm like, perfect. So anyway, these natives were at a veterans memorial on a Veterans Day, and they were saying, "Oh, this is our land," and banging on their drums or whatever like that. The Proud Boys that attended, like 4 of them, held their flags for their province in Canada, and stood there and asked some questions. Well, the media construed it much like they did with the Lincoln Memorial issue, where the kids were at the Lincoln Memorial and the native guy went straight up to them to get a problem created, and that's all it was. But the media totally just ran these guys through the mud when they really did nothing wrong, and that's our media for us. The media is not on a conservative side. The media is not on the truth side, and so that's why I love people like Alex Jones, who fights so damn hard to expose. The media is not our friend. It's I get so much of a enjoyment watching Alex Jones because he's batshit crazy sometimes. But you know what?
He's fucking entertaining, but
oh, it's so entertaining. I love it too.
It's fucking WWE news, mate. It's just like,
yes, sir.
He's fucking raging out.
Yeah,
it's so enjoyable.
Back in my day, I'd call it WWF. Back before they changed it.
Oi, man. Well, I'm gonna have to wrap this up, but I'm so fucking grateful that we had a chat. And
me too, man.
I'm going to the shooting range, so my mate's coming to pick me up. I hope to do a live. We only got a 22, so we're like fucking
cool, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking sweet.
Thank you so much for having me.
Any shit that goes down in Canada, like we need to go. I want to go more into Canada. I don't know if you've seen my interview with my Kiwi mate and the Scottish healer. Like we got to start bringing to light like the shit that's happening in all of our different nations. Start talking about it and fucking start raising this. We need to start getting connected again. You know what I mean? Because we're all fucking, we're like cousins, aren't we? Canadians and Kiwis and
it's family.
Even the filthy Poms, you know what I mean? The Scottish are all right. Nah.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah, dude, we'll tee up again, and any wild shit that happens in Canada, let me know. Oh,
Uhuru, proud of your boy.
I'm fucking out of here, mate. Cheers. Thanks for the live.
See you, brother.
Cheers, bro.